the social, the cognitive, the
Right.
psychological
Mhm.
implications of this stuff, the shame that
Yes.
probably, I mean,
Right.
you look now at even just literacy rates in America, they're pretty low. And there's a lot of shame that goes along
Right.
with that.
Right.
But it's interesting to hear you say that. So when students go through this, it's like, it is like carving a new pathway, but once it presses through, it actually just opens up
Everything.
completely new
Everything.
pathways.
All right. And that's why we wrote the book, Dyslexia Dissolved. Where do I have it? Maybe here. All right. Dyslexia Dissolved. All right. Because in here, then we describe the different cases in detail, right? And the children themselves tell their own stories, the parents too, so that you can see how the whole person changes, just like what you're describing, right?
Yeah.
And the examples that are given. Like, for example, if somebody's struggling with language, it's not just reading, it's also being
No.
able to remember things, and then people think that they're not really that smart, right? Because they cannot even remember simple oral instructions, right? That gets affected as well. And then
Oh,
also,
yeah.
the fear of taking on new things. So a lot of them dare not try new things, right? Until the processing efficiency gets to that level where it's not a problem when you have, new things and you don't have to just follow routine. You can take
Yeah.
on big new adventures, travel abroad and things like that. But a lot of the children that we saw at the beginning, they dare not venture far.
It's really funny you bring this up because, and it wasn't even related to us recording this podcast, but I was having
Mm.
a conversation similar to this with
Uh-huh.
just a random person I know who has struggled with dyslexia.
Mhm.
And one of the things that just opened my eyes to the tentacles that these kind of brain disorders can have on somebody's entire life was they described the anxiety they have
Mm.
going to a restaurant
Yeah.
because if it's not a familiar restaurant,
Right.
they don't know how to necessarily process the menu, and it's very uncomfortable for them to even know what to order, and so as a result, they don't even like going out to social things because
Yes.
the anxiety of, I might not know what's on the menu, I might not know how to read it, I
Mhm.
feel embarrassed asking people,
Right.
and so they've had to build a whole social
Yeah.
structure
Right.
around something as
Right.
simple as that somebody else would just take for granted of just, well,
Yeah.
just what do you want to eat? And they're like, I don't know because I don't know what's on the menu. And now I feel
Mhm.
it just blew my mind when I was like,
Yes.
wow, I had never put myself in
Right.
those shoes, but I
Right.
can see how that would have implications across the board.
That's why we describe the cases in detail so that even teachers can see the other side of what's going on with the students, right? Because in the classroom, we only see one role. But just to continue with the restaurant example that you gave, one of the students, who used Dissolve as a college student, so he's in his 20s, right? We can accommodate older individuals as well. So he said that he couldn't actually take on as his part-time job while he's still in college, serving at a restaurant. He couldn't do it. Why not? Because he couldn't take down orders. First of all, he couldn't process what people were saying. And then to
Yep.
spell that out, he couldn't do that. Now he can. That was just after a couple of months of Dissolve.
That's, and it's those kinds of things that I don't think people always consider when they consider how these disorders and just how these things and not talking about them and not
Right.
addressing them. I mean, this person that I was having this conversation with, they
Mhm.
had not told really anybody that
Mhm.
they struggled with this their whole life because they
Mhm.
just had accepted
Mhm.
this is just how it is. And they grew up in school and they were just told, well, you just figure it out. And nobody was really able to do anything. And it was a very hopeless feeling for them to feel like, what really can I even do at this point? So to hear that technology is
Right.
actually not only just doing the same thing we've done before, but maybe more efficiently, but going, no, we're actually reconnecting the neural pathways in a different way. We're actually solving the problem. We're not just creating bridges and barriers to kind of fix it.